The cricketing superstar poised to become Pakistan's next prime minister despite opposition allegations of widespread election fraud. Imran Khan is promising major changes and vowing to clean up corruption. Can he deliver? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Mohammed Jamjoom. He says it is a new Pakistan. Imran Khan is pledging to help the poor, talk to the Taliban, and try to end the decades of dispute over Kashmir. The former World Cup winning cricket captain is set to be Pakistan's new prime minister following Wednesday's general election. The leader of the Tehreek-e-Insaf party won most seats, but not enough to form a majority government, so a coalition cabinet is expected. He's defeated mainstream parties who have long ruled Pakistan. The ruling PMLN party of Nawaz Sharif has conceded defeat but is disputing the result along with opposition groups. They say the vote was rigged, and they're threatening to call for nationwide protests if their demands for an election rerun aren't met. Khan's promising to investigate the vote rigging allegations and has other major challenges ahead. Osama bin Javed reports from Lahore.
Nawaz Sharif and his brother are no longer calling the shots. After the campaign, it's time to clean up in what Imran Khan calls a new Pakistan. PTI voters have taken their leader to the top job, but they're already calling for accountability of those who joined Imran Khan from the so-called old Pakistan.
If they carry one the same way, even after coming to power, it will be really unfair to us PTI voters. Imran Khan must know this. If he cannot stop their corruption, then he has no right to be the leader.
International observers say they did not witness any military interference during the vote process. But the EU Election Observation Mission says the 2018 electoral process was not as trouble-free as it was 5 years ago.
Although there were several legal provisions aimed at ensuring a level playing field, we have concluded that there was a lack of equality of opportunity. Candidates with large political appeal and financial means, the so-called electables, often dominated the campaign.
Opposition parties say there was interference, especially when votes were counted. A multi-party conference rejected the results in the capital, Islamabad.
This is theft of the people's mandate. As for those who achieved majority through this, we neither accept their claim nor give them the right to rule. We have agreed to demand a new, fair and free election.
The Election Commission insists that the election was transparent, but it failed to keep its promise that it would quickly announce the official results. Imran Khan's party has agreed to investigate allegations of rigging and fraud. It also unveiled an ambitious 100-day plan when it forms a government. The value of the Pakistani rupee has taken a nosedive in recent weeks. There's an agitation movement brewing amongst opposition politicians. Imran Khan's challenges may have already begun even before he's taken charge of what he promised as a new Pakistan. Osama bin Javed, Al Jazeera, Lahore.
So just who is Imran Khan? Now 65, he was raised in Lahore by his ethnic Pashtun family and became one of Pakistan's most famous cricketers. As captain of the national team, he led Pakistan to win the World Cup in 1992. He immediately retired from cricket to devote himself to social work. He founded the PTI political party and promised to ensure insaf, or justice, for all. He won his first seat in the National Assembly in the 2002 general election. Khan led protests against election fraud in 2014 and demanded the resignation of the government led by Nawaz Sharif. And he spearheaded an anti-corruption campaign. He also promised to reform Pakistan, create 10 million jobs, and build 5 million low-cost homes. Khan has also called for the resolution of the Kashmir dispute, peace talks with the Taliban, and he has criticized U.S. policy in Afghanistan. All right, let's introduce today's panel. Joining us in Islamabad is Naveed Ahmed, an investigative journalist and academic in Lahore. PJ Mir, a former cricketer turned TV host, and also in Islamabad, Salim Awan, a Tehreek-e-Insaf party member. Welcome to you all. PJ Mir, I want to start with you. Could you tell our audience just how significant is Imran Khan's victory here?
Quite significant, because he's broken a myth, he's broken a tradition, and he's brought in a breath of fresh air. So I think it's quite a change, because here we have seen those kind of people fall down in the election, these recently concluded elections, who people thought would remain there for eternity. So I think it's quite significant. And also the fact that Imran's banner of asking for justice and asking and pleading for the poor man has actually played off. In comparison to in the 1970s, when we saw Mr. Bhutto come along and speak of the Pakistani term of roti, which is food, kapra, which is cloth, and of course housing, which is makan. And he's actually transformed that today in these general elections. And but again, what I would say, Mohammed, is that time will actually tell, because he's got a team of inexperienced people in comparison to what Mr. Bhutto had, in comparison to what Mr. Nawaz Sharif had. But today, he's again, as I said before, created a breath of fresh air. But will this breath of fresh air be able to give Pakistan what it wants? He's got a few very good hands, and at this present moment in time where there's lots of wheeling and dealing going on, let's see how he negotiates all of that.
Salim Awan, do you agree with what PJ Mir was just saying, and does this signal a seismic political shift for Pakistan?
I agree with the first part of Mr. PJ Mir's statement. But, you know, I don't agree with his narrative of an inexperienced team, because what the experienced team of Sharif has brought us is huge pile of debts. Our country has now the enormous debts. We are running huge deficits. Our exports have gone down. Our imports have gone up, and we find ourselves at the verge of financial bankruptcy. So we need fresh people with fresh ideas and who are willing to contribute to the country. And Imran Khan has team who are dedicated, who are Pakistanis, who wants to contribute to the economy of the Pakistan, who want to better the conditions of normal Pakistanis. He has shown it in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the province which was given to him thinking that he will mess it up and that he will stand discredit. But today what we find is that not only Khyber Pakhtunkhwa has discredited the opposition, but they have given a huge mandate to Imran Khan.
Naveed Ahmed, the EU Election Observer Mission has said that they observed no vote rigging on Election Day, but they also noted a lack of equality of opportunity and systematic attempts to undermine the ruling party. So how much of a shadow does this cast over the formation of a government led by Imran Khan?
There are facts about it. There was some kind of intimidation to other political parties, primarily Nawaz Sharif's party. However, had that been the case, had it been engineering as being portrayed by the opposition parties, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, to be honest with them, would not be looking for other coalition partners. It could have single-handedly formed government, but that's not the case. The election was pretty fair. Pre-election procedures have never been never had level playing field for all the political parties throughout the history, which does not justify what happened before these elections. But definitely things should have gone towards improvement, and that was not the case. But having said that, I think election day was the most organized day, and there were discrepancies, there were issues with the disposal of results in time, and these were more in terms of administrative flaws that the government or the Election Commission could not handle. I think European Union observers really have commended that this was a fair election, and pre-election procedures need to be improved for every next election or by-election Pakistan is going to see.
PJ Mir, I saw you nodding along to what Naveed Ahmed was saying there, so I want to ask your reaction to what he was saying, but also, you know, several of the smaller political parties are disputing the results. Some of them are even calling for nationwide protests. Do you think now that those calls will continue, or they will accept the result?
Look, there are three angles to it. One, PTI had nothing to do as far as, let's say, rigging the elections or had anything to do with tampering the elections. That's one. Two, yes, there were malfunctions of the Election Commission of Pakistan. There's no two ways about it, because, in fact, just today, PP 70, the candidate, Asif Bhatti, I had to intervene through a lawyer to have his case reopened, which the judge has reopened, which is a good sign, which in the previous tenure, it never happened, when Imran was shouting his head off and trying to approach the courts. Look, please open my cases and things like that. It didn't happen. So today, again, a breath of fresh air from Imran in the sense saying, look, I'm open to all investigations, whether it's my people or whether it's yours. So that's a great sign, and that thing has taken place. There are election lacunas. I'm sure that'll go in time. But as I say, that, when we speak about the formation of a government, look, to run a cricket team of 12 is quite easy. I played cricket all my life with Imran. I've grown up with him. We went to the same school. But running a country of 22 million is a different kettle of fish, let alone the province of Punjab. So I think today what we're looking for is a narrative where Pakistan, how it deals with Moscow, how it deals with China, how it deals with the United States, how do we get out of FATF, how do we get out of this trade deficit, how do we get out of the imports of 3 billion, exports of 1 billion, get out of under $1 trillion the debt. So we are facing towards an economic crisis. These are the factors which we need to see. And of course, the biggest factor, Mohammed, is that today, when I said earlier on, breath of fresh air, despite India's interference, despite some of the Western media's interference in trying to undermine these elections have gone well, despite the fact that the heat of July and the monsoons played a major part. But still, yet we had millions of youths who would come on to vote. So that's a change. But we have economic crisis ahead of us. And that is the reason when I said that we need experienced people to run the country. Oh, I may go and buy a Boeing 787, but is my captain competent enough to fly that aircraft? So that's where my argument lies. And I today say that, look, at this present moment in time where Imran himself has given the olive branch to all of them, yet in response he's got this APC coming out and people have threatened that they'll go out on the streets, they'll only damage the state of Pakistan. So I think we need to get out of this rut, follow Imran, he's got the mandate, and let's all work together. Despite I would go down as far as what the Americans have done. Hey, they brought in the defense secretary who didn't belong to the party.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're bringing up a lot of valid points here. And because you know Imran Khan and because you're a fellow cricketer as well, and you've known him for a long time, I want to ask about a criticism that he has faced. Many have said that he is a political opportunist. Yes, he is running on an anti-corruption platform, but they also say that they don't really know where his political philosophy lies. Do you know what his political philosophy is?
I did his first, let's say, an interview on television in London in 1990. In that, he clearly said, politics is not my game. Politics is not my scene. This is too dirty in Pakistan. All I want to do is something good for the country, which he did in the form of Shaukat Khana Memorial Hospital. But as to your question, which is very pertinent, what is his political outlook? Well, his political outlook is being with him is care for the poor people, care for the underprivileged, care for those who have been neglected, and for merit. I've seen that myself, and I think that would be his basic aim, where he would want to take Pakistan. And of course, finishing off this corruption business, finishing off the siphoning off millions and billions of dollars out of Pakistan and trying to bring those billions of dollars. I think his litmus test lies when he said that I will bring back those billions of dollars back into Pakistan, which has been looted out of the country. That will show what his political outlook would be.
All right, let me ask Naveed Ahmed. Do you believe that Imran Khan is going to be able to fight this very entrenched culture of political corruption in Pakistan? How easy or difficult will that be for him?
Well, Imran's biggest barrier lies within the party. His party is not an ideological party anymore. And over the past 3 years, he has let everybody come in. Either he was or she was affiliated with Nawaz Sharif or with Asif Ali Zardari or Pervez Musharraf. What kind of political baggage these people bring to the party is going to be a challenge for Imran Khan. So the party apparently seems to be split into two groups. One which are hardcore Tehreek-e-Insaf activists, which stood with him for quite many years, actually graduated to where they are. And there are others which have been parachuted in the party. That's where the tussle lies. The other challenge that you mentioned is the external one, the one that comes from the political elite of the country. Some of his own members are part of it, and of course, entire political opposition that he'll face, which have all ganged up together. And then there is bureaucracy. There is a district management group. That is the legacy of the British rule. They are very strong. If you want to change and reform Pakistan, you have to go after the bureaucratic reforms. And that is going to be a major challenge for him. And bureaucracy, alongside the military bureaucracy and civilian bureaucracy, have been a major factor in pulling down or failing any leader. And thirdly, Imran's own personal focus. Imran has transformed himself into a leader, but recently he has become a politician. Now he has to rise himself again to the status of a leader and think about all parts of the country as his own, which apparently seems easier said than done. And we have to watch very carefully and minutely as to how would he deliver on those fronts. Personally, I am cautiously optimistic. But in the long run, you never know where he takes the party and the country.
Okay. Salim Awan, I want to ask you about something that Nawaz Ahmed just mentioned. He talked about the military. Now, one of the keys to any future success by Imran Khan and his colleagues will be how they navigate, how they negotiate with Pakistan's military. How do you foresee that going?
So it's very simple. It's governance. If PTI, which we all hope, and that's why we are part of the PTI, if they can deliver on their promises and if they can take Pakistan on the right path, military will itself give space to the political forces, because what has happened in the past is that the political forces like the Sharifs, they have been trying to build up their empires in the foreign countries at the cost of the interest of Pakistan. All we know is that Imran Khan has always cared for Pakistan. He has brought Pakistan to the stage of the world where and he has brought all these people who love Pakistan on the platform of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. So as a PTI activist and a supporter, I only hope that like he has delivered in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, that he delivers here, he brings in a team of competent people, and he builds up institution, and he brings smile on the faces of people. We reduce our debts. The plunder and loot that has been common in Pakistan is stopped. Why would the military interfere in the civil regime? If the civil regime performs. What has happened in the past is that the civil regimes have been messing up, and that was the reason for the military to intervene.
PJ Mir, critics of Imran Khan say that his leadership could embolden extremists. Now, why do they say that? And has he actually been catering to religious hardliners in Pakistan?
Who hasn't? Everybody says they don't, but they all have to. Unfortunately, whether we like it or not, there are some radical elements who are on the way out now, and people have had to work with them in order to see that there is no anarchy in the country, there is no disturbance in the country, there's no bad perceptions which go out of the country. Yes, we all have, all the political leaders have. But today, I think, as I said, Imran is not one of those who's been tried and tested. Imran is going to be tried and tested now. It's not a one day, as I said, it's a 5-year test. It's not a 5-day test. So this test match, which he is going to be playing in the country, will need a lot of assistance. In fact, only about 7 days ago, I spoke to General Musharraf and I said, look, you've been running the country. He came to you and asked that, he wants 90 seats and so on and forth. How do you see it? And he said, look, my time is up, but if Imran wants my help, I'm willing and glad to help him out wherever wherever he wants it. And that is the case which we need. We need elderly statesmen, we need wise people to come along and assist Imran in taking the country forward. Why? Imran has no baggage. Imran has no corruption charges. Imran doesn't carry anything which is bad. In fact, give him credit that despite the fact that there were few people who've been tainted, the news is that he will not be giving them any ministerial positions. So that's a great start. When we see that people who've been tainted or basically under investigation by the National Accountability Bureau, those people will not be considered till the time they're cleared, or perhaps if they're accused. So, whatever that is. So during this period, we need to see that the infighting, as what my friend from Islamabad said, this infighting that has to be curtailed, that has to be actually contained, because the people who have come in, who I call them as parachutists, will always want, and the independents will always want to get some ministerial position, because that's the basic name of the game. So here, again, Imran will have to be very judicious, very careful, and at the same time, very, very calculating as to how he is going to see his party performing in the next 5 years.
Naveed Ahmed, we've spoken a lot about internal domestic politics inside of Pakistan, but let's talk a little bit about foreign relations. Of course, Imran Khan has been critical of the U.S. war in Afghanistan. He's been critical of the use of drones by the U.S. inside of Pakistan's borders. But now he's also calling for mutually beneficial ties between Pakistan and the U.S. at a time when the U.S. has suspended aid to Pakistan. Can this relationship be repaired? What do you think the U.S. will expect to hear from Imran Khan going forward?
Well, Pakistan's interest lies to work with U.S. in the most amicable way. Pakistan and U.S. are natural partners. And the hate that has built up after 2001, particularly 9/11, and before that, due to sanctions, must come down to a level where the two countries should have a better working relationship. As far as Imran's objections were concerned, his major issue was with drone strikes that no more happen after Pakistan conducted a thorough operation in Waziristan and other tribal areas. So that's off the table. The other issue is the situation in Afghanistan and talks with Taliban instead of pressurizing Pakistan. United States just recently concluded direct talks with Taliban in Qatar. And the talks have also continued in Afghanistan, despite all the terrorist attacks going on. And U.S. has shown clear willingness and support to Pakistan and Afghanistan to continue the process of political dialogue with Taliban. These are the two basic positive signs that lead Pakistan and Pakistan and America towards a peaceful settlement of their whatever differences are left. As for other relations are concerned, due to this anti-Americanism, Iranian lobby has seeped into PTI very heavily, and Imran is generally seen as extremely pro-Iran. So that's a baggage that Pakistan will carry and Imran will carry. And Pakistan, the last thing Pakistan wants is to be seen siding with Iran or North Korea, given its economic situation and the corruption and the external threats that it's facing. Pakistan needs very warm relationship with United States, as well as equally good relations with China and other stakeholders. However, this will not happen like a few years ago, a few months ago, that any official Deputy Assistant Secretary of State of South Asia will come and call on the President or Prime Minister. Now the protocol will be respected, I hope.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. It's just that we're running out of time, and I want to ask Salim Awan a final question here. Thank you for that. Salim Awan, I want to ask you also about Pakistan's relationship with India. Imran Khan has offered an olive branch to regional rival India. He wants to put aside the long simmering dispute over Kashmir. Is there any idea you have of how India might respond to his electoral victory and to whatever initiative he might have going forward when it comes to the relationship with India?
That's an excellent question. I think if anyone, PJ Mir would agree with me that if anybody could improve a relationship with India, it has to be Imran Khan. He is loved as much in India as he is in Pakistan. He's been a celebratory, and if you see, the Indian media was running a hate campaign against Imran just before the elections. But if you see the Indian public at large, the celebrities and everybody else, they have hailed Imran Khan's election as winning the elections. And I hope that he uses his relationship in India to leverage the relationship and improve the relationship between two countries. There is a need for dialogue, which successive government has not done successfully. So I'm very optimistic, and I think if anybody can do it, it has to be Imran Khan.
All right, gentlemen, we are going to have to leave it there. We are out of time. Thanks so much to all our guests, Naveed Ahmed, PJ Mir, and Salim Awan. And thank you, too, for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. And for further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. For me, Mohammed Jamjoom, and the whole team here, bye for now.